May the force be with you is a phrase used to wish a person well to overcome a challenge. The invitation in this podcast, May the life force be with you, is to explore what it means to truly feel alive, to appreciate the physical, emotional and spiritual connection to our energy, and finally to understand how this impacts who you are and all that you do. May this conversation inspire you to thrive. This episode of May the Life Force Be With You is brought to you by Moment Company and the Moment Pebble. The Moment Pebble is a beautiful, natural stone, light-guided breathing device and is a unique gift for someone who needs that gentle reminder to stop and take a break, to take moments throughout their busy day and to practice mindfulness. Just head over to momentcompany.co, that's momentcompany.co, and enter the code LIFEFORCE at checkout to receive an exclusive 10% podcast discount. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of May the Life Force Be With You. And Karila and I have got big grins on our faces. We're very excited today to welcome our first divine masculine energy to the podcast. Marcelo, you are our first man on the podcast, so this is very exciting for us. Just to kind of set some context, and I know Karila is going to do an introduction in just a second, but we tried to speak a few weeks ago, and Marcelo got the hiccups. And
really badly.
Really badly.
4 days.
4 days.
And we felt, well, if that isn't some divine life force intervention, I don't know what is. But we have managed, hopefully no hiccups today, physical or technical. Yeah. And we can enjoy this conversation. So welcome. And Karila, over to you to introduce.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because Marcelo is the second Tantra person, and hiccups and Tantra, like our other Tantra person, had like loads and loads of technical hiccups. And I think it is a credit to how important Tantra and life force energy are, that like these big energies and resistances are coming up at the start of when Tantra speaks through the people that we're talking to. So I'm really excited to have Marcelo on the on May the Life Force Be With You. I only met him this summer at a Tantra event, and his yoga class was amazing. And then he did this amazing talk that really, really, really shifted my perspective on a load of things. And so I'm really, really excited to have Marcelo as our first man. He also, his story is really interesting. I really want to know how you went from ex-marketing director for luxury brands and being a lawyer to a Tantra and Yoga practitioner, because that is not a pathway that I would normally think of, and so, yeah, I'm really excited to hear everything that you have to say. Firstly, I want to know, though, how did you cope with 4 days of hiccups?
A lot of acceptance. Yeah. I found out where does it come from, but it's our medicine works like that. They tell you a cause, but it's not actually the root. So I don't know the root of this hiccups. It's actually a spasm of a muscle. It's the diaphragm, and I work with the diaphragm when I practice yoga, and I encourage people to work on that diaphragm because the health of the diaphragm determines the longevity, our longevity. A strong diaphragm allows you or us to get rid of substances, toxins that sit in the bottom of the lungs. So when the diaphragm is a little bit weak, it doesn't manage to get rid of these toxins. So they start to accumulate, and this deteriorates the whole system.
Wow.
Actually, that's why Christ
I always think of the diaphragm because of where it's positioned in terms of the solar plexus.
Uh-huh.
I always think of it as like the muscle of power, like because it's so connected to our breath and everything like that.
Yes.
And what actually happens with the diaphragm when you have hiccups? Like, what's it doing?
Something is stimulating, like pinching it or affecting it some way that it has this reaction, which is a spasm.
Wow.
And I had like 10 of them in a row. Like I couldn't inhale. It was like very emotionally, it was challenging. And I think it has a lot to do with control. Mm-hmm. Because I don't think it's a coincidence. I work and I give a certain attention to the diaphragm and breathing, a lot of attention to breathing. And breathing with the diaphragm is one of the keys, of balancing the nervous system. And I spent 4 days with a spasm on that specific muscle, and I couldn't control it. So I thought I had control over it because I work with it, but no.
That must have left you feeling, because hiccups are like, they're funny, but they're quite violent. Like they're quite intense actually, and like I can't imagine
that was
having them and not being able to stop them for 4 days.
That was actually torture. It's like the drop, the drop that falls on your head, and after a certain time, it gets something very challenging and violent, like you say. Not one repetition, but the addition of all the repetition becomes terrible. And this was the same. And it became a torture, but it was actually me. It was my body. It was my diaphragm, which I thought I have the control over it, that was doing that to me. So very interesting.
And have you tuned into so what's the medical cause?
No idea. Nobody knows.
Have you tuned into the deeper cause?
I'm gonna look for that because yesterday, as I told you, I started with a new cycle, and I was like, no way, I'm not gonna write to them saying we need to postpone again this coffee because I really want to, enjoy and share. So I just slept over it and I was accepting. Okay, I'm gonna go through this conversation with hiccups. If that shows up, it shows up. And, my eyebrow lifts each time because I have like a very facial reaction, and it's not here. So thank you. I thank you.
How beautiful is that though, that this thing that had complete control over you last time, and when you just integrated it, accepted it, surrendered to it, then it's like the acceptance brought your power back over it, or brought you back into your power and mastery of your own diaphragm. That's amazing. I do know somebody, my mum knew somebody that had hiccups for a year.
Oh. Don't put that into Marcelo's universe, Karila.
I didn't hear what you said.
Don't put that into his universe.
No, but what I meant was for me, wow. It is amazing that to me, hiccups are a thing you have for a few minutes and then you sort them out, and and it's to think of these long-term hiccups. I mean, he was obviously hospitalized because spasming for a year is a really serious thing. But
if it happens, it happens, because it happened to me a few years ago, and I couldn't accept it, and it ended up finishing with pharmaceutical something to relax my whole muscular structure. So I couldn't walk basically for a bit because the very strong substances to relax the muscles. And I thought, I'm not gonna take that. I prefer to see what happens if, this goes forward, and what is the process? What are my reactions? And I went from non-acceptance, from rejection of it's almost humiliating that you cannot. I couldn't talk to people, to a space of, okay, this is it. There is pain, because I was feeling pain at a certain point, because the muscles are very tired. So you get the spasm with the muscle tired, and it gets like an electric discharge. But it was at the end, it was like, okay, that's it. It's just a physical sensation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm making this become an emotion without consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
So I started to feel I was not breaking, but aware of the link in between the sensation and the feeling, the stimulation and the emotion that is triggered by that sensation, which is something objective. We can feel pain without suffering, right?
I mean, that's part of the talk that made me want to talk to you on my May the Life Force Be With You, because you were talking about like suffering and the lower chakras. And, I feel like what you've just described in a really beautiful way is this part of your work that and how you're living your life, that is about living in a state of being rather than doership.
Yeah.
Would you say it's doership that causes the suffering? It's like trying to get back in control of your diaphragm. Is that doership for anybody listening? Would you agree?
Totally. And I think this is a loop, I find myself very often in, is to try to get to the other side of suffering through doing.
Mm.
So trying to alter or modify, manipulate my current situation through doing, and it doesn't work. We cannot become, and the body is teaching me this. We cannot become anything through doing.
Wow, that is a big statement to make.
It sure is. It sure is. Because there are schools of thought that might say that it's all very well thinking and being, but without action, there's no outcome or momentum or movement. So how do you balance those two things of that doing creates momentum, it creates a new reality, and then just being is a passive thing which can allow things to happen to you, but I guess that could also be good and bad things.
Mm-hmm.
No, how do you when you make that statement about nothing happens when you're doing, or nothing changes when you're doing?
I mean, we cannot change our essence through doing. And if we try to do, we're gonna suffer, because whatever we manifest through doing are things that end.
Wow.
Okay, so you're saying that so we cannot change our essence by doing, because that is that is unchangeable. That we're that is what we have as our core, regardless of our experience in life. Is that kind of what you mean by that?
Our essence changes through consciousness,
Through awareness.
Yeah.
So we're kind of upgrading. I mean, I'm feeling this deeply, what you're saying. I'm letting it all sink in, and I really feel it.
You were literally just talking about it as we came. You were like, oh, you kind of came in flat because you've done a load of doing that dead ended, hey? So like It's really speaking to you right now.
Thank you for highlighting that, Karila. Yes, that's not actually where I was going, but I just spent the whole day, this whole week doing and getting nowhere. So I feel like I've been on a little bit of a hamster wheel, I guess, but it's started to knock my confidence that there's no action or outcome to all my doing. And I can feel it actually in the pit of my stomach while we're talking. It feels like I've a little bit defeated, a little bit deflated, and I haven't changed as a person since Monday. But I guess my perception of my value and my worth in relation to my output and effort, there's an imbalance. And
So
that's how I'm kind of feeling.
Here's a little life force theory about it, yeah?
Okay.
Which I've experienced because I have been in those dead end things where I've done and done and done. And, you know, if you're going through winter, you're going through a winter. And my response in a winter is to rev. My response is, you know, I always like think of the doing, especially when you're like doing to try and push through or create a change, is it's a bit like when you are stuck in the mud when you're driving and you're stuck in the mud, and I'm a terrible driver, so I've been stuck in the mud, and you're like revving the engine and just using up all of your petrol, not going anywhere because you're stuck in the mud, and you're revving your engine and you're revving your engine. And I feel like if you do that with your own life force energy, which is what I do when I'm stuck in the mud in a situation, is it's like that's when your self-worth and your value starts to decrease, because your life force energy is part of your self-worth and your value. You know, like it's the energy source of those things. So like as you rev the engine, it like leaks it out. And so then your confidence drops, your charisma drops, your, you know, all of those things drop.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree with that. They say that tantrics don't try to understand life, but simply focus on feeling life. And feeling is a state of receiving, is a state of being. Through feeling, I can raise my vibration, my level of consciousness. And therefore, what I will do from there is different. I change what I do through consciousness and elevating my self knowledge of my essence. But it's not an intellectual process. It's about allowing, feeling, and there is a little bit of doing, which is a sparkle, which is keeping the focus, believing this. That is a little bit of doing. Mm-hmm. But it's very subtle and is not the root and what feeds this whole process.
Well, you say it's subtle, but I would argue that allowing, accepting, receiving, is probably the hardest part. I think that's the bit I can do all the other layers, but I haven't upgraded to level 10 yet, where it's just that final little bit of thinking, well, I can just be okay with where it is today. There's that little, I guess, still corporate brain in me, logical brain that says, but if you just did half an hour more at the laptop, what would the outcome be? When actually, I've often found when I put the laptop down and do something completely different, the magic happens behind the scenes. So it's just because I know a lot of people listening won't know what Tantra is, might not be as far along the spiritual scale that we might be talking about, but it's that very practical element, I guess, of those burnout lines and where true value, it doesn't really make a difference, that one more email. Now, if you go to the Tony Robbins end of the self-help spectrum, he'll say, yeah, and you should be up all night sending 10 more, because without doing, you get nothing. It's that really hard message for people to receive, particularly, if you own your own business, where if you're not doing, there's nobody else doing it for you. And that allowing, when it's your business, it's your livelihood, it might be your passion project, to really find balance of how to feel that, and to quiet the logic brain and just go, what feels right today?
I agree with you, Fiona. Like, I understand the theory, absolutely. But like, I find it really hard to live. You know, I find it really hard not to like do that extra email, like you say, Fiona, or like do that, like,
Or the guilt behind not doing it.
yeah, like we're so taught to push.
Yes. There is one concept which is measuring. Our Western culture is all centered and working around this measuring. And very often we hear about Maya. Maya in the traditional Tantra is very often translated as the illusion. We live in an illusion. But other tantrics who speak Sanskrit translate Maya as the measurable. So whatever is measurable is what keeps us away from the divine.
Wow.
That creates the distance with the divine, which is absolute. Therefore, by definition, is not measurable. So the thing is, to survive, we need to measure. To survive, we need ego. To survive, we need separation. Separation means measuring.
Mm-hmm.
And our whole system is addicted to dopamine, which is about measuring.
What? Dopamine is about measuring.
Dopamine. About measuring, yes. Dopamine is a substance that allowed human species to structure itself. The human species to organize itself is what makes you go to the supermarket when you're not hungry. Okay, this is dopamine. It has other effects.
Dopamine. Explain that about going to the supermarket when you're not hungry. Going for dopamine here.
I give you an example. Imagine yourself in front of a list of things to do. When you cross one thing done, 2 things done, 8 things done, 9 things done, you get a rush.
Ah, yes, I know that rush very well.
That's dopamine. Okay? So you're measuring, you're structuring, you're giving an organized context to your life. And this is dopamine. Yeah. You get the rush when you get a message on your phone that you're waiting for. That's dopamine. You get the rush when you're in the casino or the casino. In Italian it's casino. Mm-hmm. And you put all your money in one number and that number is the winner. That's dopamine. It's a number.
Wow.
Yeah. It has other effects, but one of the main ones is this organization, structuring. Structure means separation. We cannot structure things that cannot be separated. Okay, structuring is about ego. The system is about being. Okay, there's not much separation in the system. There is more fluidity within the different actors, subjects, objects that are within a system. In the structure, there is separation. If you remove one element, you need to put back another element to replace. Otherwise, it's not going to work. The system, you remove one element and by itself, it will keep working. And organically, it will be replaced. Our body is more a system than a structure. But the skeleton is a structure. Mm-hmm. So our body has both of these.
Wow.
Yeah.
I understand that now.
So, and I would say for me, whenever I'm in the like rev the engine place of my own life force energy, wherever I'm in a stuck in the mud, I'm feeling low because things aren't going my way, or like it's not working out. And then as you're speaking, I'm like, so then I'm like going for the dopamine hits because I'm trying to make myself feel better by doing more, by trying to like push it, like it's the dopamine or the feeling of the dopamine, which feels nice, that I'm subconsciously trying to make myself feel better by revving my engine.
And it's super addictive. We're in a dopamine-based system, dopamine-based society. It's very addictive. And the whole culture, Western culture, is like that. It's a masculine culture.
It's funny you said masculine, because when we were talking earlier, one of the things I was thinking about action, when Fiona was saying like a little bit of action is needed, I suddenly like was getting this vision of how a baby is created. And like, to me, the masculine...
That's where your mind went when I...
Yeah. So to me, I was thinking about the fact that like the masculine element in a baby being created is like the igniting, like the sperm is the like moment of action, or the igniting. My guides often talk about the masculine energy being the igniting energy, which is the action energy. But like that in percentage to what the feminine then does for the baby to be created is like the action percent in terms of the creation of human life is it's like 1%, like probably less than 1%. And then the rest is like the allowance and the space that is held, and the like organic. So do you see what I mean? Like there is that moment of action that if that igniting doesn't happen, then the womb is not going, like then the baby isn't going to be born.
In the same way ideas aren't born.
Exactly. Like if you go complete yin and you do no action and you wait for it to happen, then you've got an empty womb. But like how far is life? Yeah. Like there's no igniting. But then how far is Western culture out of, if that's the ratio, then how far out are we? Like we should be sending one email a month. But it should be the email, like the aligned email.
That's so good. Wow. What a trip. Yes, we are unbalanced. If we would balance more, we would manifest much, much more and realize that lack is an illusion. The earth is giving us everything that we need still, but is giving us today and has given to us everything that we need. And we are always struggling with the illusion of lack, and we suffer. This is the igniting point of a lot of mental processes that create suffering and trigger suffering. And that balance you're talking, I mean, we give so much importance to one thing when actually there is abundance. The universe is abundance. Earth is abundance. And we're not aware of this.
And in some instances, we take it for granted as well.
Yeah.
Because I guess that there is a sense of scarcity in some environments and in some places that creates a different type of engagement with the land. It's forcing people off the land. We've kind of we've taken too much. We talk about extraction quite a lot, don't we, Karila? Where we've taken too much, and how do we give back? And it's give back to ourselves is usually a place that we start when we talk about extraction and tiredness and taking away your life force energy. It's because it's been extracted from you, or you have just given it all away without realizing that we also need to replenish. And that is true that there is abundance, but when you're in that scarcity or lack of mindset, it's very difficult for some people to be able to understand that there is that abundance around them. And it doesn't always have to mean money. It can mean love. It can mean connection. It can mean friendships. It can mean peace. It can mean sleep. I'm just talking about myself right now. It can mean health. It can mean lots of different things. And so I do think we sit sometimes in that lack of bubble when, as you say, we do have an amazing abundance around us. We just don't know how to connect to it sometimes because we are stuck in the dopamine Western.
We are addicted to this illusion of scarcity.
I mean, most of the time when I'm in lack and I'm doing that revving the engine thing, there might be a lack of money, but actually if I zone out, what I'm actually lacking is my life force energy. And that's usually why then my projects aren't flowing and things aren't aligning, because I also feel like the universe responds to your life force levels. And, you know, I remember this one time where like I just, you know, everything dried up. Like things that I was putting on online courses, in-person events, none of them were flowing. Like, and my response was to like rev it more, push, dopamine hit. And eventually I had a session with somebody because I was like, I don't know what's going on. I can't even hear myself anymore. And like the person was like, you need to rest. Like the universe loves you and is trying to make you stop and rest, and you're not replenishing yourself. You know, like what you need to do is stop.
Like, start being.
Yeah, get your life force energy back, get your energy levels back. And then, and you know, it was because I was so burnt out at that point, it was like a strict, you know, no meditation, nothing spiritual whatsoever. Give your energy body a rest for 6 weeks. Watch TV was the message. And so I sometimes think we like blame lack on the external things, but what we're actually feeling is lack of our own mojo.
Yeah.
Just wondering if you guys resonate with that.
Yeah.
Yes, I think it's also a disconnection with our essence. Why am I doing all this? It's a lie. The reason why I'm doing all this is a lie, is a false belief that I am lacking, that I need outcomes, that I need more money, or I need external things to survive. And these are not to survive, in order to survive most of the time. It's not food that we are working on getting. It's other things, and things that have to do with our completeness, with our self-perception that we are fine, that we are complete. And this is a lie.
I want to ask, because obviously if you were a marketing director for luxury brands and a lawyer, you have fully lived that lie. Like those roles presumably are like totally all about that lie.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry about that.
And convincing other people it's what they need in their life.
Yeah, and selling that lie.
Yes.
So what happened? Like, how did you get from there to here?
The thing is, even before getting there, I wanted to be within the mechanism that creates crave, that creates desire, that creates need, false need. It's a lie. It's not a need, but it's desire. But it's perceived as a need because we need to complete ourselves through external elements. When I worked for many years for Prada and a couple of years for Bulgari. What these brands,
like big brands, like these are like forerunners of the lie. I might get sued now, Fiona.
sorry about that again. what these brands are selling, actually, it's power, social and political.
Mm.
They're selling some way control. because we control our image and we control the image of the other people, or the image the other people have of ourselves, through embracing and endorsing these products, these brands. We buy acceptance. We think we buy acceptance. And that's why I had the need to go through these. Well, I remember when I was 25, I said, I want to work for luxury brands because I need to understand the mechanism. I want to understand the mechanism.
You actually chose to go into the light and understand how it functions.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Tell me how it functions.
Marketing.
And that was my industry for 23 years.
Oh, like,
yeah, it's marketing is a mechanism. It's a diabolic mechanism, and once we make it work, it's an engine, and it's just about feeding it.
Mm-hmm.
Are you feeding it with life force energy?
Yes. We deal in luxury. I say we because I used to be there and I'm still connected some way. We deal with life force energy big time. Yes. Luxury is energy and consciousness, but it's mainly energy with a certain, like you said, Carilla, the little sparkle of consciousness, but it's mainly energy that we are selling in luxury.
So it's the whole
It's the aura.
The aura, the mystique, the magic behind something that is created by the marketing, because the product is the same that someone could make on a street corner anywhere. But it's as you say, it's the aura, the magic, yes, there's expertise, yes, there's everything else behind it, but there's a lot of expertise around the world. But it's the marketing and it's the perception of a correlation of lifestyle, of what it means to you as an individual and your personal brand, that makes it desirable. It makes you desirable, therefore, if you have something that somebody else wants.
Totally, Fiona. Who wants to own a gallon of gasoline?
Only someone that needs it right now, I would imagine. But no.
Petrol.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to own it. Who wants to travel?
Yeah. Everybody. Yeah.
We want the experience. We don't want the object itself. Objectivity is not working in the luxury industry, but the whole industry is like that.
But okay, I'm at the moment kind of from the other end of the spectrum, being like, I need to level up because I sometimes wear really cheap stuff and the cheap stuff isn't making me feel good. And so I'm trying to like level up the quality of what I'm wearing. And it's not necessarily designer or luxury, but I'm noticing that when I'm in something that is high quality and well made, I have more energy. So are you saying that like people, when they buy a luxury brand, that they get like a surge of energy because of all of the energy within that brand? Because I just want to challenge the lie a bit, because I feel like I don't buy from Primark, but like I feel like if I do buy cheap, my energy system does notice that I am not wearing something of quality.
I think a luxury product gives you two things. Gives you objective qualities of that specific item. Like you said, it has a certain process which implies energy to get to your hands. And it also has intangible qualities. They're not objective. They're more sometimes it's even philosophical, what that item implies and the aura that Fiona was mentioning before. There is a lot of thought and a lot of effort on building that. And that's also energy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more like ethic and aesthetic.
Right.
Yeah. And aspirational. And it's interesting, you the very first word that you used when you talked about branding was political, which I thought was interesting, because particularly in today's climate, brands go out of their way to not get into a cancel culture political environment. They want to stay really clear of anything that could be seen to be shadow side or dark side, or anything that could be controversial. But actually, you go back through the start of, big brands and into last century, and they've always had an undertone of political influence, because they have a sway of energy, of aspiration, which is like, hey, we're up here, you want to be up here too. And with that comes a whole political belief system, becomes a wave of energy of hierarchical kind of separation between haves and have nots. And that is a fundamental political system.
Totally.
Oh my God, how did I get there from Prada?
I mean, but I think it's so important to say, because I think, yes, there's a lot of non-political frontage on this stuff, but like, I love that you said that. I heard a comedian in Brighton once who was a political comedian. He was like, there's all these different wars, there's all these battles of the sexes, race wars, class wars, all of it. He was like, there is only one war, and it is between the top 1% and everybody else. And I feel like a lot of these luxury brands, they might not be engaged in the other wars, but they are part of that one war between the elite class and everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So there is that politics. And to me, I kind of wonder if that top 1%, maybe even less, I feel like they hoard so much energy in every sense of the word, including life force energy.
Yeah.
Yes. The thing that this effort of staying away from controversy is politics. It's pure politics. And this might be quite controversial, but the biggest group in luxury, which is LVMH, it's the most powerful company in Europe within all the industries. It's luxury and fashion, LVMH. Louis Vuitton, Moët & Chandon, and Hennessy. They haven't been involved in any scandal. The other groups and brands have been involved with, like discrimination or some scandal about production issues, the way the products were sourced, for example. They're the biggest ones. They have a bargaining power over communication that is huge, and they were never involved in anything that was controversial. Why? Power again, and power and politics.
Yeah, they're so closely. I mean, they are kind of one and the same thing. When you talk about power, powerful people tend to talk about politicians, but actually there's probably people in these organizations below that we're talking about now that have huge influence. When I think of life force energy and those brands as well, I always remember a few years ago Burberry coming out and saying they don't do any sales, and they literally set fire to product rather than put it on sale, so that they don't devalue their existing products.
I mean, that's like, when you zone out,
it's crazy, isn't it?
That is crazy. Like,
I tell you that there are machines to destroy shoes.
Wow.
So there is an engineering office that designs machines to destroy shoes. Because a pair of shoes is not so easy. A high heel is not stiletto. It's not so easy to destroy if you think about it. There is like soft parts and very hard components.
So they just stick them in this machine and it rips them up and it destroys them. Wow.
And each brand within this powerful group have a budget to destroy stock.
Wow.
Yes. Oof. Wow, I could feel that.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, in a way, nature does a lot of destruction, I will say. Like creation and destruction do go together, even in nature.
Yes, and we realize lack and scarcity is an illusion.
Mm.
Even shoes that sell €1,000 a pair are destroyed. So there is no lack or scarcity of these. Or let's say there is not such a lack and scarcity as we think.
Yeah,
And so how did you then leave that system? Like after being there, how did you end up in yoga and tantra? Like what happened next?
I could feel the closer I was getting to my objective, which was becoming collection merchandiser. It's like a collection director. The more empty I was feeling. And then when I got there, I could feel very empty. It was the worst. Inside, my emotional body was suffering the most when I got there because I was doing to get somewhere that was not in line with my essence, with my being. So I think it was this. This was the main reason, and other factors happened. I had like some health issue, and then I had a boyfriend. Then I had the first time I had a boyfriend who was a little bit cuckoo, and he created a lot of trouble in my life.
You gotta love those relationships.
And then my mom was diagnosed with Alzheimer, and all this happened in the same time. That's how I started my journey in Tantra. Okay, Neo Tantra, European Tantra. So it was very sexual, sensual on the same time. And it opened a door. Then I realized other things that I was carrying. I was carrying in me since I was a kid, like very, very young, like 3, 4 years old, trauma. And that happened through feeling, through Tantra. It was not a mental process or intellectual process to give me this awareness. And then I changed job. I went to another company that was supposed to be a bit more quiet, but I went from Prada, which is about fashion, to Bulgari, which is about power. When we sell, it's always about power. But if I put them in the scale, Bulgari is selling pieces for millions of euros. So what do we buy? Do we buy the objective qualities of the product? Do we need these stones? We don't really need these stones. But we buy because of what they represent. Some people buy because of beauty. But mainly we are buying power, right? We're buying X million euro piece to wear around the necklace next to a certain chakra, It's for a reason that is beyond the objective quality of the product. And the internal functioning of these companies is about power as well, because we cannot sell power if we don't play that within the internal structure. So I told you I wanted to throw up because of that need and hunger for power. And that's how I decided to quit everything. Then I was with a girlfriend at that time. I changed, and I told her, I'm sorry, but I need to study yoga, meditation, and flow into my being. And I need to be in my state of being to understand my essence, my being, my soul, what the spirit has to say. So I went to Thailand and I stayed there for a while. I got what I was not looking for, but what I needed.
My guys always say, sometimes you get sometimes you don't always get what you want. You get what you need, and what
Mick
you need
Jagger is
gets
not
you
wrong.
what you want.
Yes.
That is that kind of universe.
And the thing is, when we are into this loop, like you were saying, like pressing on the gas pedal, we get the rush of adrenaline. Like each time I press the gas pedal, I get the rush of adrenaline and dopamine. And I think by doing this, I'm gonna get something, and that doesn't allow me to listen and to hear and to feel my being, my essence. It's like a radio that is distorted, when you put you tune it in the wrong way, like
At the wrong frequency.
it's impossible to hear and to tune into, because it's very subtle. I think the essence, the being state, is more feminine, is more subtle, it's more delicate, and it's interrupted by that 1% you were saying that creates all this distortion and doesn't allow to hear.
Would you say essence is life force?
Life force, yes, but in syntony, in harmony with the soul, with the consciousness, with the deepest consciousness, or the highest frequency of consciousness that I can reach now. And there is a boundary, it changes over time. Through my experience, that frequency goes up.
I can really, I really feel that when you said that there's something else beyond the life force that we imagine that we have with us right now in our waking, doing life. There is something else, and it is that essence. And it will change. It will morph. It will move through our kind of lifetime. It becomes something else, and maybe beyond our lifetime. I guess that's a different conversation. But it's something just more beyond our physical energy and life force.
Yes, I see it like the soul and the spirit.
Right.
Okay. The soul is it's difficult to explain. I'm going to try. The soul is a piece of the spirit that is in line with my body. Okay, so it's like the link between the spirit, which is it's the field. The spirit is like the field. It's like a library, a bibliothèque, and the soul is the book. One book that my existence needs to manifest. I mean, my body needs to be manifested. So it's a segment, and it changes.
And when you're distorted, I take it you're not following the pages of the book.
When you're distorted, I think
You're not living the book. You're out of alignment with the book.
Yes. I cannot even read. I'm so distracted that I do other things and I'm not into that content.
Yeah, I like that metaphor of that library and just one book within that big vastness of lots of other books, and some of them sit next to each other and some of them are on completely different topics on different floors with different colored covers, and sizes and shapes, and there's something nice about there being a whole mixture of things in that library. It's not just uniform.
And the soul has access to all the books and the content of all the books, but it's actually embodied in one book, which is what we need for this existence, for this body. I mean, the soul will be the content of one book.
So it's like live your book, live your own book.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
And from what I'm getting from what you're saying, because I just want to say, like, I do think I feel like I am living my book, but I still rev my engine, you know? So what I'm learning is that you can be out of alignment in the way you're doing things, even if you are living the book, you're just not living it in the way your soul and your body want to live it in that moment. You know, you're not being present with what the moment is giving you, when the moment is giving you what you need as opposed to what you want, you know? And so I just think it's important to say that, because it's not like you walk your path, live the book, and it just all goes without revving, because that's certainly not my experience, being a very westernized human being, very dopamine addicted human being.
So where is this extreme tiredness that you mentioned, Carilla, in this whole conversation?
So
if you find somewhere to place it.
So to me, you know, I spent my entire life creating out of dopamine. Like, I lived a dopamine addiction massively. I think you guys probably can relate. Like, just did.
Yeah.
And, you know, my standard response to people asking me how I was is I would always answer, I'm good, but I'm tired. Like, that would be my standard answer. It's like, I'd be good because I'd be high on dopamine. I'd be tired because I was high on dopamine, revving my engine. And what tiredness is to me, like, basically, I got bored of being tired, and I was like, I'm going to do some self-work on tiredness, and I'm going to do some shadow work on tiredness. And tiredness, so the guidance that I got when I started to tune in about what actually tiredness was, is that tiredness is when you have misused your life force energy. And so tiredness is the feeling of your life force energy dying, because you've let it go out of your body. And when it goes out of your body, it can't survive. It doesn't regenerate. It doesn't circulate. And so it dies. And so tiredness, from this view, is that it is the feeling of your precious life force energy dying, a bit like you burning the pages of your book for a hit of dopamine. Like, it's like and there's different ways you can misuse your tiredness. You misuse your life force energy, everything from pushing, which is revving the engine, to a blocking or avoiding. Like, there's 6 according to this model.
Just name them briefly, Carilla, in case someone hasn't heard them.
Pushing, dragging, draining, pleasing, blocking, and avoiding. I can give you a fast view of all of them if you want. Pushing is when you,
Mm-hmm.
Pushing is when pushing, we have a natural push, but it's meant to be a push up. We're meant to push up into our own evolution, push up into more of who we are. Pushing that goes out of your body is when you're pushing towards a future version of yourself. So you're pushing your energy out into the future. Future doesn't exist. Energy dies. Dragging is when you're holding on to something that is dead, whether it is an idea, belief system, tradition, person. And that's why you feel so much tiredness when you're grieving, because you're dragging. You do drag when you grieve. And so your energy is holding on to something in the past. Your energy goes into the past. Your energy dies. Draining is when you split yourself. So whenever draining is really common, it's like whenever you're like working, but really you want to be outside. And so you're like splitting your attention, splitting your focus. You split your energy, and it causes your energy to drain out of you. The split causes a drain into the earth, and so it dies because you're going into the death that's in the earth. Essentially, pleasing is when you put your energy into somebody else's shadow, and in somebody else's shadow it dies because there's no life in shadow. Blocking is when you go over sovereign. So it's when you have too much sovereignty in your system, and so you're not allowing energy in, and you're basically creating a resistance. The resistance, like your life force needs to participate, and it's the resistance of the not feeling, of the not experiencing, of the not feeling like you've been talking about, that causes that life force energy to die. And also the tension causes the life force energy to go outside of your body. And then avoiding, the last two are trauma responses. Avoiding, you send your energy, it's another not wanting to feel, but it's the oneness version. So you send your energy out of your body into the great void, and in the great void your energy dies. And so that's the 6 patterns of tiredness that came through when I inquired. And I was like, so when I first did work with this, I worked with spirit guides, and the guides were like, halfway through, I was like seeing these amazing breakthroughs in people. And then I was like, I'm going to speak to my guides because I think this is really important. And the guides were like, we are surprised. They're like, humans are tired. I was like, you didn't know that humans are tired. And then they were like, we'll get back to you. And actually, this project is, I believe, part of the redirection that my book took, because I was like, I want to talk more about life force energy because it's so important and best. We're using all of those patterns all the time. Like you think of your day and how many times you do one of those patterns.
Yeah. It's not just I'm one type. We're all those types in different circumstances. We allow those patterns to appear
all the time. Like our response in any moment is those patterns. You know what I mean? Like whenever we're feeling like, whenever we need a dopamine hit, we're running one of those patterns.
There's a lot to talk about when it comes to life force, and I can't believe we've been talking for an hour already.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, wow. More than an hour.
This is also a time quantum leaping vortex that we have created here as well, because the time just seems to fly by. So we must sadly come to an end of our conversation for today, Marcelo. But where can people find out about your work, and where can people catch up with you?
I think Instagram is the best way.
Instagram is amazing
to connect. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Instagram. I'm gonna open a space in the next month in Madrid. Yeah.
You're living in Madrid right now. We didn't say that in the introduction, but you're...
Yes, I'm in Madrid now. I've been here for a month and 1 week. Yeah. Going through hiccups and other things, other realizations.
So that space will be for yoga, will be community space?
Yes, the base will be yoga. The Tridosha series of yoga. It's something that is hermetic. It's an hermetic practice, so it's not documented anywhere. It's not written. It's not recorded. And whoever has studied Tridosha will not do that, because it's something that needs to be experienced with someone that has been through a certain amount of hours integrating it. So this is the main practice. And Tridosha it's about feeling, entering your body, going very deep within, trancing into ourselves, and then manifest the asanas. So it's not performance based at all. Yeah.
That sounds amazing. I do transcendental meditation. So, yeah. We need to go on the road, Karila. We need to go to Madrid.
I'm waiting for you. As soon as I open the center, I'm waiting for you.
We're coming.
Come to Madrid. And we will do other things like bath gongs and a little bit of shamanic tantra through breathing, getting to trips, journeys. But that's good to do once we flow into that state of being. We go deep into the yoga practice and into that state of being. Yeah.
I have a question for you.
For me?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Who should we talk to next?
Wow. That's... should I say it now?
Yeah.
Okay. I have two friends.
Mm-hmm.
They're both girls, so it's not going to be the second guy getting it. The second soul with the male body is not in the bucket. One of them studied. Didn't study. She had already studied when we met in Koh Phangan in Thailand, and she's a sex therapist.
Mm-hmm.
She does a surrogacy. So surrogacy is like very few people do that in the world. It's replacing one member in a couple to see what needs to be given attention to.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. And she's been doing that for years. So this background is, I think, very interesting.
Very interesting. There's whole TV shows in the UK used to be about that. Life Swap, I think it was called. How fascinating. Well, we'll get her name from you for sure.
Yes, she has an Instagram. It's can I say it?
Sure.
Yeah,
Lucy Cali Miller. Let me see what is the Instagram. She got an award last year. Lucy Kalim. So it's Lucy with Y and KLLIM.
Miller. Great. Well, that's a fantastic recommendation for us.
There was another one as well. Is there a second person?
Yes, the second one is Valentina. She studied Tantra with me in Thailand, in Koh Phangan. And she's been through so much after that, because the whole COVID period started there. We were there, and she went to Sri Lanka, then she went back to Switzerland. From there, she tried to go back to regular life with her job and stuff like that, and she was like, I cannot stand that. So she left and she went to Costa Rica to live like with I don't know if she went into the community, but she was like talking to a community, seriously thinking to go there and settle there. She has a cacao company, and she works with cacao and chocolate giving ceremonies, and the way she processes the cacao beans, it's following the moon cycles.
Love that.
Yes, and she does also some tantra ceremonies.
Amazing. I have to say, you have smashed it. You are like the masculine on May the Life Force be with you. is waving a very impressive flag. This conversation was amazing. Thank you
I'm
so
so honored.
much.
The time just went so quickly, but I just really appreciate everything that you shared today. And I felt what you shared as well. So thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you. I really enjoyed.
Great. And we'll see you in Madrid.
We'll be there.
I'm waiting for you here. I'm going to try to be quick with the center.
Exciting.
May the life force be with you.
Yes, love and light.
Our first man on the podcast, and Marcelo was amazing.
What a man. I mean, that conversation just like how we went from hiccups to Prada. I don't know.
I mean, I could have dwelled just on the kind of brand energy and, you know, obviously my corporate news world and branding world, but it's just so fascinating for him to have been at such a high level.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of background that he has, and obviously he's lived lots of different places and been at that very high end, you know, powerful end of brand marketing, and then to just kind of go, it's not that he did what most people do and go, hang on, there's something's happened, I need to get out of here. He knew he wasn't that person when he went into it.
I know. He went in to have a look at it. I mean, that is going and facing the beast in the mouth. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah, that's a whole other level of awareness, acceptance, curiosity that we talk about. But he lived that. I kind of want to go back and ask him when he first knew that that's what he wanted. Like, how did he even get to that point where he's like, I'm going to go into the belly of the beast because I know it's not me. It's just fascinating, and that just being able to allow. But then even he had that moment where he's like, okay, I can't do this anymore. So he did still get to that point where it just wasn't how he wanted to live, and he didn't like the things that he saw around him. But that self-awareness and beingship that he has is quite extraordinary.
And he is living it, you know, like I was like, he was speaking, and like you said, you feel it because he is so full-bodied living the truth of what he is saying that it drops and just, I mean, amazing.
And there's a softness, and people might think, oh, there was pauses. Yeah, there was, because you're kind of letting it sink in what's being said, and he wasn't in any rush to kind of. Everything, it felt easy and it felt in flow. It's almost like he was taking a breath in between yoga poses. There was no like rushing to get to the next one. It's just like, let's just sit with that for a little while. It's God, what I was about to swear there, but we haven't sworn this whole episode. So one that isn't.
Please, we haven't sworn.
Please do not swear. And now I can't remember what I was going to say. I think it was just something. I know what I was going to say. I was going to say, holy mackerel, we are having some amazing conversations. And every time we speak to somebody, another guest, it blows my mind how many different, makes me feel quite overwhelmed, different versions of life force perspective there are, how deeply connected to this subject so many people are. And they're in service. Every single person that we speak to, as are we, are in service to helping others feel this too.
I know.
And when you meet people like we've met since we started this journey, it's I know, it's my life bucket, that's for sure. But wow, and you know, this is just the start. It's so powerful. So thank you.
It's so powerful. And I mean, you know, like what he was saying about essence and the library, like I'm just like, and yeah, it's blowing. You know, every time we speak to somebody, it's blowing my mind too. And I come away with like these like treasures that I'm just like, oh my God, this is so, like I feel like every conversation is an activation of something more within
it's
me.
like little Easter eggs we're leaving everywhere of these different things to do with life force out there.
I want to speak to all of them again more.
Yeah.
I'm like, we've got to stop just asking everybody to come back. But like so far, everybody needs to come back. I wanted to ask you, because you said you were feeling a bit flat. And I wondered if this conversation, because this conversation has like shot my life force energy and presence right up. And I wondered if it had done the same.
Oh yeah. Like, so I can feel it from my diaphragm to my throat. It's like that place of expression, but it's not from a restricting point. It's when you're like, oh, I gotta get it all out. I just want to get it. It's kind of like from that excited point. That's how I feel. I feel excited by what he said, and that's why I did challenge him a little bit on the doing. You can't just be in being all the time.
No.
You just be a big blob on the floor, right? You have to do there. We call it eustress in our moment workshops, where you got to have some va-va-voom, or you literally don't get out of bed, and life would be pretty boring, right? So you do need that oomph to make you do things, and it's in the doing. Well, the experience, like you said, it's the igniter point, which then leads you to do other things, which is expansive. And if you didn't have those, your world would be very narrow. And actually, what we want is that breadth of experience. So you have to be active in some way in your life, but it's when it's driven by excitement, it's driven by a forward momentum, and not because you're pushing, dragging, pulling, blocking, avoiding, pleasing.
Well done, you got them all in.
It's because you want to do it. And as you said, you can't always get what you want, but you get what you need. And sometimes you need to do something to make you realize that that's not what you need. You need to go and do something else.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, we probably should let everybody get on with their day, because I know that's a slightly longer episode, but we could have gone on for hours.
Stop it.
So until the next time, my friend, may the life force be with you.
May the life force be with you.
Take care.
We hope this conversation has topped up your life force energy. If it has, then please help us spread the life force. Like, share, subscribe, all of that. And may the life force be with all of us.